Hey, what's up guys? Philip here bringing you another review video, and today we're going to be checking out Razer's hybrid mechanical keyboard called the Ornata, and this is the Gen 2 version. Make sure y'all watch till the end to hear what my pros and cons are on what I think about this keyboard. Let's kick things off by checking out what was included in the box when you actually receive this package. You're going to get the keyboard, of course, a wrist rest that has a magnetic attachment that attaches to the keyboard, a few Razer stickers if you want to stick them on your laptop or computer or somewhere that you think looks cool, and a quick start guide that will show you how some of the basic features with this keyboard work. Now, after I took this keyboard out of the box, my first impressions were that I liked how slim the keycaps were. I like this kind of low profile look keyboard companies have been doing lately. This keyboard isn't exactly an ultra slim keyboard like the Logitech G915 or the Keychron K1. This thing's just a little slimmer than traditional mechanical keyboards. And it's gonna go up 1.25 inches in height, and then it's gonna go 18 inches in width and 6 inches in length. Now, the material that this keyboard is using, I don't know, I'm not really too big of a fan of this plastic based material. It feels like some sort of cheap plastic material, and it looks kind of cheap too. If you compare it to something like the SteelSeries Apex 5, which is in the same price range as this one, it's one of their competitor keyboards. That thing is made of what they call an aircraft aluminum grade material, and that thing has a way nicer build quality than the Razer keyboard that we have here. Now, the wrist rest itself is made of a pleather material, and it's embossed with the Razer logo on the center of it. So I think it has some pretty cool looking vibes here. I'm digging the looks. However, after using the wrist rest along with the keyboard for a few hours, I noticed that my hands were getting a little warm and sweaty, and it wasn't really a pleasant experience. So I would recommend wiping this thing down every now and then, just so it doesn't get all nasty and, I don't know, just unpleasant to look at. Now, I'm not trying to say anything bad about the Razer Ornata keyboard. It is a good keyboard, but if you compare it to something like the SteelSeries Apex 5, as I mentioned earlier, the wrist rest on that thing is better than this one because it's not as plush and it has more airflow that can go through to your wrists, and it's not going to heat up your hands like the Razer one will. Now, the cable that's attached to the keyboard is going to connect via USB-A to your computer, and it has a braided material that wraps around the cable, so it's going to be a pretty high build quality cable. And if you look on the back of the keyboard, you can see that there's a three-way channel where you can route your cable. You can route it to the left, to the right, or to the center, and that's going to be nice because when you're actually setting up this keyboard on your desk, it's going to give you a cleaner look if you can route the cable to the proper place, and it's going to prevent any cable drag or pulling. And on the back also, you're going to have two adjustable legs that have two heights that it can adjust on, and this is going to be nice because it's going to give you a higher level and a lower level, and it's just going to give you a better typing posture experience that's going to give you a more ergonomic feel, and it's going to prevent less pain to your wrists when using this keyboard for long periods of time. Now, if we look back on the front of the keyboard, we can see the scroll wheel up here, and this scroll wheel has some pretty cool things you can do with it. You can control your media and music controls with it. You can control your volume, and I personally like to just leave it as my volume because I find it pretty comfortable to, you know, quickly on the fly adjust your volume. However, one thing to keep in mind with the scroll wheel if you are using it for something like video editing is it can't move like 1 millimeter at a time. You can't just slightly shift it and get like a micro movement. It kind of moves like 5 millimeters at a time, and it moves in like pretty big segments at a time. And now moving on to the front of the keyboard, more specifically the keycaps. These things are made fully of an ABS plastic material, and they're gonna be 5 millimeters in height. And something that I like about these keycaps is they have this little arc / groove in every keycap, and that's going to be nice because when you actually put your fingers on the keycaps, your fingers kind of fall into place there, and it's going to be easier to register a click when using the keyboard. Now, the RGB lights. So the RGB lights on this keyboard are amazing. They light up really brightly, and they have this like little white plate on the back of the keys, and that's going to help the lights kind of bounce back and just give a brighter and more vivid luminosity level. And something really cool about this keyboard is that they do have the installable software, which is called the Razer Synapse software, and with that you can really customize the patterns, the colors, the brightness levels, the speeds, all types of things. And now the key switches themselves. So this is a hybrid mechanical keyboard, and what that means is it's not going to be a full switch system like most mechanical keyboards, and it's not going to be a rubber dome keyboard like something like the Apple keyboard or the Logitech MX keys. This thing is going to have both a little mechanical piece and the rubber dome at the same time. So the way it works is when you push the key down, it first hits like a little piece of metal, and then after it gets past the piece of metal, it falls into a rubber dome piece and pushes down on the rubber dome. So you're first gonna get that mechanical feel and then the rubber dome right after that. And this was pretty cool because it created like this kind of gooey / tactile typing experience, and it's really hard to explain, but it feels really good when you're actually typing on this keyboard. And here's a little typing test for y'all to hear what this thing actually sounds like. So here we go. Now, the only thing I wasn't too big of a fan of with this keyboard's typing experience was that some of these keys have key wobble. And what that means is when you actually put your finger next to some of the keys, especially the larger keys like the spacebar or the enter key, it kind of wobbles in place. And I don't know, that kind of created like this cheap feeling typing experience. However, it's mainly noticeable with the larger keys, especially the space key. And that's kind of annoying that the space key has that because it's the most used key on a keyboard. So now my pros and cons with this keyboard. We're gonna start out with the cons and end on a good note with the pros. So my biggest con by far was the key wobble. The little keys don't wobble as bad. It's really not bad at all with the smaller keys like the letters, but the spacebar and the enter key, I don't know, that key wobble, not a fan of that. And the other thing that I really wasn't a fan of was the build quality that the base was made of, more specifically this plastic piece around the keyboard. And this thing, it's durable and all that, but it just looks and feels kind of cheap. So I don't know, it's just not really pleasant to look at this keyboard. And like I said earlier, this keyboard does have a competitor, the SteelSeries Apex 5, and they're literally the same thing. You got the scroll wheel, the keys, the wrist rest and all that. But the SteelSeries is, in my opinion, much better than this keyboard. And I know I've been giving this keyboard a lot of heat lately, but now let's talk about some of the good things I liked about this keyboard. And obviously, the best thing about this keyboard is the lighting. Like right now, I'm in a really bright area. I have 2 lights coming down, actually 3 lights, and you can see these lights on the camera pretty clearly. And if you put it in a dark room, this thing's gonna be extremely bright. So I'm definitely a fan of the lighting that this keyboard has. And the other thing I liked about this keyboard was the typing experience, more specifically the mechanical hybrid key switches. When you actually push down on these keys with your fingers, it just feels really good. I like that mechanical / rubber dome hybrid feeling. I think honestly, personally, I prefer these more than regular mechanical key switches. It just feels really polished. I'm just a big fan of it. Now, like I said earlier, the keyboard does have a lot of wobble, but when you're pressing on the smaller keys, it feels really good. But when you press like on the big spacebar, I don't know, it just feels a little more clanky, but that's more because of the wobble. But the key switch itself, really good quality. Now, before you decide to buy this one, I highly encourage you to check out the SteelSeries Apex 5 and looking into that keyboard as well before deciding to go with this one, because honestly, if it was up to me, I would go with the SteelSeries Apex 5 any day over this thing. So if you want to check out my review on that, click the link down in the description below and you can check it out there. And I'm also gonna leave a link to this keyboard if you are dead set on getting this keyboard, if you're loyal to the Razer brand or you just like Razer products in general. I'm gonna leave a link pointing to Amazon where you can pick this keyboard up. And with all that being said, if you want to stay up to date with what's happening in the tech world, make sure you click that subscribe button and I'll keep you in the loop. Don't forget to like this video and leave your comments down below. See you in the next one.